What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Mock Draft Guy YouTube channel. Yes, I know, coming back with a two-round mid-season mock draft. This is what I've done the last couple years, usually around the midway point. It used to be week 8, now it's week 9 is the midway point of the season. I want to give you guys a little bit more of an extended version of a traditional mock draft that I usually drop. Obviously, this is coming with trades, but now as the college football season rolls on, the NFL season rolls on, now we really know for the most part who's a contender, who's a pretender, and we also know more of these college football prospects by name. More of them are becoming household names. So if there's someone that you haven't seen in previous videos in the first round, who knows, they might be in round 2 this time around. So I'm super excited to get this started. But before we get this started, if you enjoy videos like this, please leave a like and please subscribe to the channel. The channel has been going crazy. We're up over 6,200 subscribers, which is absolutely unreal. I feel like last week or 10 days ago, I was celebrating 6,000. Now it's already another 200 plus. You guys are awesome. You guys are the reason why I keep doing this. And really, without you guys, I would be talking into the void. So I really, really appreciate everyone's support. Let's get to 10,000 before the 2024 NFL Draft. Now, without further delay, let's get into it. Arizona Cardinals at pick number 1. Right away, don't like it. I think Kyler is the long-term answer. They've committed a ton of money to him. If he comes back at the time of recording, this is Thursday before week 10 of the NFL season, Kyler Murray will be making his NFL debut, his season debut for the Arizona Cardinals. And if he looks as good as I think he can, I think there should be no issue here if Arizona continues to have the number 1 overall pick throughout the season. This will either be Marvin Harrison Jr. or it will be an easy trade down spot. I believe if you are in possession of the number 1 overall pick and you don't need a quarterback, there's no reason that you should be picking at number 1 unless there's like an amazing offensive tackle or pass rusher, generational type prospect. But to be honest with you, I would still consider trading down. So this is going to be a trade down spot. Also, Kyler Murray is become a bit underappreciated in today's NFL. When he's right, when he's healthy, when he's playing his best ball, he's easily a top 12 quarterback in the NFL. I think people have really gotten away from that with the memes and the jokes about Call of Duty and all that kind of stuff and his work ethic. But when he's actually playing and he's healthy, he's definitely a top 12 quarterback in the NFL. No reason to cut ties with him, look to trade him. That contract is a disaster to try and trade anyway. And then you wind up with a super expensive rookie anyway. So this is going to be a trade down spot for me here. The New York Giants are going to be moving up to the number 1 overall pick here for me. Now the Giants are in possession of the number 1 overall pick, and this is pretty simple for me. If you were in the top 5 or even the top 10 for that matter, I am a firm believer that if there's a quarterback that you like that you don't think is going to fall to you, you might never get this opportunity again. You have to go up and get your man. And I think, honestly, I know a lot of Giants fans are going to be upset about this because they want Drake May. I still think, even though I go hot and cold week by week, I think some weeks Caleb Williams is the best quarterback prospect in this year's draft class. Sometimes I think he's the 5th best quarterback prospect in this year's draft class. This week I fell on still the best, or at least one of the best, one of the top 3. And Caleb Williams is going to be the pick here for me. He knows how to deal with the pressure of playing in a big market. USC is a big college football market. He played at Oklahoma as well. I think this is going to be a match made in heaven. If you can get him a couple pieces, maybe another offensive lineman, maybe a wide receiver, something like that, maybe hinting towards the second round of this mock draft, I think you're in business to kind of get back to the place that the Giants were last year. So Caleb Williams is going to be the pick here for me at number 1 overall. Now, Chicago sees Caleb Williams go off the board. I don't think that they will package number 2 and number 3 to move up to number 1 because that's probably what Arizona would want for the number 1 overall pick. I think they stay where they are. If Caleb Williams falls, they take him. But if not, I don't think there's another quarterback that they're willing to take. I know Drake May is awesome, and he's kind of borderline my quarterback 1 as of right now. But I don't think the Chicago Bears would fit Drake May, not the other way around. I don't think that's Drake May's game is what Chicago's trying to push on offense. I think that would be not a waste of a pick, but it would be wasted talent or talent left on the board. So they're going to stay at 2 and 3. Right now, they're not going to move up to 1, but I think that they're going to trade the number 2 overall pick. Kind of like what I said with the New York Giants. The New England Patriots find themselves in a top 5 spot right now. That's something that you do not see too often. And if Bill Belichick is going to stick around for the long term, you have to get him a quarterback that is going to, produce at a high level. So Chicago moves back to the number 5 overall pick, and New England move up to number 2. And you already know who this is going to be. This is going to be Drake May. I feel like Drake May is what Bill Belichick thought he was getting in Mac Jones. He's just extremely athletic, has a big time arm, can make big time throws. He's an absolute playmaker at the quarterback position. Some evaluators have said that he's the best quarterback prospect they've ever evaluated. I think that's a little bit crazy. I think that still goes to either Andrew Luck or Trevor Lawrence, but Drake May is a sensational prospect, and I think he would be absolutely perfect for the New England Patriots long term. Number 3, the Chicago Bears will not be trading out of this pick. Pretty straightforward. Marvin Harrison Jr., the best player in the entire draft, is still on the board. They do not hesitate to take him. They pair him up really, really nice. Cole Kmet, DJ Moore, Marvin Harrison Jr., and then maybe if they re-sign Darnell Mooney, I don't know what they're thinking there. But, if they can get a third option maybe later on in the draft, that's a sensational trio of wide receivers plus tight end for Justin Fields to throw to. Because as of right now, Justin Fields is still going to be their quarterback, in my opinion. At number 4, you have the Arizona Cardinals. Now, this kind of stinks because you got to kind of have to go best player available here, and which is never really a bad thing, especially when you're drafting this high. You're usually looking for the best player available, unless there's a absolute massive need. So for me, I know that Brock Bowers is the best player left on the board, but in my opinion, it's Ola Fashanu, and I think it fills a massive need. We already saw Kyler Murray go down with a super serious injury. With all the money that Arizona has invested in him, we don't want to see an injury like that again. So I think they took Paris Johnson Jr. in the first round last year. I have no problem with them double dipping in the first round back-to-back years and taking another tackle. Then you slide Paris Johnson. I actually don't know off the top of my head, to be quite honest, if Paris Johnson is playing left or right tackle. But either way, if they draft Ola Fashanu, he will be the left tackle of the future. Then you have your bookended tackles of the future, long-term, 8, 10 years, whatever it may be. Fashanu is going to be the pick here for me at number 4. Then Chicago at number 5. It's going to be Joe Alt. I think you set Justin Fields up for massive success if this is your first 2 picks. Either way, interchangeable. Joe Alt or Ola Fashanu would probably be the pick here at number 5 if they were to trade down. I mean, you're getting him a true franchise left tackle, and you got him one of the best wide receiver prospects of all time. So you're setting him up for success right away. I know that there are some needs on the defensive side. Corner is an issue. Edge is an issue as well. Maybe even the interior of the defensive line. But I think with the talent that's afforded to you in these 2 top 5 picks, you can't pass up on the offensive talent. So it's going to be Joe Alt at number 5. And then at number 6, the Rams. Now, the Rams are in an interesting spot because the Rams have a bevy of needs. They need corner. There's every corner left on the board. Tackle, there's a lot of good tackles left on the board. Edge, there's every single edge rusher left. Quarterbacks, there's still a lot of good quarterbacks left on the board. Here's the thing. I think LA is in a prime trade down spot. I think they need to acquire more assets. This is the first time that they've had a first round pick in a while. I think they're going to look to trade down, and I think the Atlanta Falcons are going to make the call up from 11. So now the Atlanta Falcons hold the number 6 overall pick, and I mean, pretty straightforward. If you're trading up from 11 to 6, there's obviously someone that you have, on your board that's still there. So for me, if they were going to stay at 11, it probably would have been an edge rusher, probably would have been some type of defensive lineman. But with the quarterbacks that are still left, that only 2 quarterbacks went in the top 5, I think with the 3 or 4 quarterbacks that are left, the 4 top quarterbacks that are left, you have to go and get your man. And there's no quarterback that I think better fits what the Atlanta Falcons are trying to do on offense than Michael Penix Jr. I mean, Michael Penix Jr., I think, is waves better than Desmond Ridder or Taylor Heineke. I mean, Heineke's a fine backup. He's not your starter of the future. Desmond Ridder he doesn't have it. I mean, there are some weeks where he looks good, but this is the inconsistencies that you don't look for in a franchise signal caller. I think you go up and you get your guy because, honestly, Atlanta has a bunch of dogs on their roster. I think that this is a playoff team. If you put any halfway decent quarterback in there, I think even if you put like Brock Purdy, that's not a knock on Purdy, I'm saying he's like a system darling. If you put Brock Purdy in the Atlanta Falcons offense, I think that they are a shoo-in for a playoff spot. I think it just comes down to quarterback play. And I think Michael Penix Jr. has the best ball placement and honestly the best arm strength of any quarterback in this draft class. He's been my number 1 draft darling from last year for 2024. I think Penix is sensational. I think that number 6, people might think it's high for him, but I think his talent and his abilities absolutely warrant a trade up at number 6, and you get your man. The Green Bay Packers at number 7. I think there's just too many needs that the Green Bay Packers have right now to kind of pick and choose from this spot. I think that once you see 3 quarterbacks go in the top 6, there's going to be other quarterback needy teams calling. And I think Green Bay is in a prime trade down spot, and the Las Vegas Raiders make the call to the Green Bay Packers. Now, the Raiders are in possession of the number 7 overall pick. They move up 7 spots, and this is going to be J.J. McCarthy for me. A lot of people don't like J.J. McCarthy, and I don't understand why. It might be because they look at the competition that Michigan plays, and for the most part, they have a very cookie-cutter schedule most of the time. But I'll be honest with you, there are plays that J.J. McCarthy make with his arm talent and his ball placement that I'm like, it doesn't matter. Deion Sanders could have been defending that wide receiver, and he wouldn't have been able to make a play on the ball. His ball placement is honestly second to just Michael Penix Jr. in this draft class. He just has so many talented tools that you look for in a franchise quarterback, and he's super young, and he's still relatively green. He doesn't have too much tread on the tires, and I think that's super appealing for some of these teams. The Raiders actually have a surprise. I mean, well, Jimmy Garoppolo won't let you believe this, but they actually have a somewhat decent offensive line. I think they can get away with not spending a premium pick on an offensive lineman here. I think that he falls into a really good situation. I think that they put him in a position to succeed almost right away. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are at pick number 8. This is going to be an offensive lineman for me, and this is going to be J.C. Latham. A lot of really good players. I mean, this is a super stacked, just offensive line in general. Center, guard, tackle, super stacked from top to bottom. I think J.C. Latham is a perfect player for Tampa Bay because even though Tristan Wirfs moved over from right tackle to left tackle, and he's actually having a pretty decent season, is an 81 overall PFF grade at a new position. I still think his super strength is at right tackle. Getting someone like J.C. Latham with his incredible size at 6'7", 350 pounds around there, 360, 340, 350, fluctuates around that area. His incredible athleticism for his size, his strength. I think that lets you put Tristan Wirfs back in his number 1 position and to let J.C. Latham be your left tackle of the future. The strength of this team was pass rush and offensive line through the Brady years. They got away from it last year. Their offensive line had a lot of injuries. I think that they need to get younger and they need to get healthier on the offensive line. Then that gives you Tristan Wirfs, Cody Mock, and J.C. Latham to look forward to for the next 6, 7, 8 years, whatever it may be on the offensive line. Denver at pick number 9. Pretty straightforward here. I think Denver really, really needs a cornerback number 2, and Kool-Aid McKinstry is on the board. Well, they didn't really play together, but Kool-Aid McKinstry and Pat Surtain went to Alabama together. You unite 2, Crimson Tide members. I think to be quite honest with you, personally, I think he fits what Denver is looking for better than Kalen King, but I do think that Kalen King is the better overall cornerback. But Kool-Aid McKinstry is really, really good in his own right, and I think that this would be a super pick for the Denver Broncos. Tennessee at pick number 10. It looks like you have your franchise quarterback. I know that's crazy to say through 2 games that he played, but Will Levis looks like he's bringing a whole different energy to this offense that has been pretty much dead outside of Derrick Henry for the past few years. The offense still runs through the running game. It still runs through Derrick Henry. We have to think that, if Derrick Henry is still on the Tennessee Titans next year, it's going to be more of a 50-50 attack between him and Tajay Spears. Tajay Spears is an awesome athlete. He's a superb running back. I think you have to strengthen the offensive line. I think there's no doubt. There is a player on this board that is sensational that I think would be an amazing fit in Tennessee, and that's Talisi Fuaga. The guy is awesome. He's an absolute brick wall from the tackle position. Also has some starting experience as a guard as well. He is one of the reasons why Oregon State is ranked so high, and I'm glad that people are starting to realize it. He was more of a day 2 prospect, like a later day 2 prospect for me before the season, but he has just been on another level so far this year. Watch what he did against UCLA to Laiatu Latu, another excellent prospect in this year's upcoming class. He stonewalled him the entire game. This guy is exactly what Mike Vrabel and the Tennessee Titans would be looking for in an offensive tackle. The LA Rams now with their traded down position, I think this is super easy. You got to go with Dallas Turner. Yeah, no edge rusher has been taken off the board. I think it's a toss-up between Dallas Turner and Jared Verse as the 2 best guys in the entire class. I think Latu is up there as well. They're pretty interchangeable for the most part. I think Dallas Turner would be an excellent player to add to the LA Rams defense because you have Byron Young on one side who is causing severe havoc with his insane speed, 4.43 speed. Then you're going to have Dallas Turner who's probably going to run in the low 4.5s or maybe even lower than that. You have two incredibly speedy edge rushers to pair with Aaron Donald in the middle. That seems like something too good to pass up at this point. So it's going to be Dallas Turner there. Washington at pick number 12. I'm going to go with Jared Verse here. I think with the two high second-round picks that they have, it affords me the opportunity to take an edge rusher. They traded Montez Sweat. They traded Chase Young. They have next to nothing on the defensive side. I know, kind of counterintuitive. You just traded two defensive ends. Why are you taking one? Well, they weren't really going to – I don't think either of them were going to re-sign with the Washington Commanders anyway, so they got what they could for them. And you bring in a new era with Jared Verse, who is the best 4.3 edge rusher prospect in this entire draft class, in my opinion. Number 13, you have the Indianapolis Colts. Pretty straightforward. They have their pick of the litter of the wide receiver position. It's going to be Keon Coleman for me. This is really nice because you have Michael Pittman Jr. on one side, who is more of the possession-based guy. You have Josh Downs that they drafted, who's turning out to be a super slot receiver. And then you have Keon Coleman, who can be the possession guy. He could be the deep threat on the boundary as well. He does a little bit of everything, and he's got tremendous size as well. 6'4", 215 pounds, super strong, super fast. He was a track athlete in high school as well. I think this would be an excellent addition for the Shane Steichen offense. Then you have Green Bay at pick number 14 with their traded down spot. Pretty straightforward. It's going to be Amarius Mims. This is their left tackle of the future. David Bakhtiari is too hurt too often at this point. He also costs too much money. Amarius Mims actually is hurt as of right now as I'm saying that, but when he plays, he is absolutely superb. He's a former 5-star recruit. I think this would be exactly what the Green Bay Packers are looking for in the middle part of the first round. Arizona with their second first-round pick at number 15. Another wide receiver comes off the board. It's going to be Malik Neighbors for me. I think Malik Neighbors, it really, at this point, I know Rome Odunze would be a really, really nice fit in Arizona, but it's a toss-up for me between Neighbors and Ibuka because they both kind of sort of do the same thing in college. But Neighbors would bring that just uber dynamic playmaking ability to the Arizona Cardinals offense that they kind of lack right now. Marquise Hollywood Brown is going to be a free agent. I don't know if he resigns. And even if he does, then that still leaves kind of a hole. We don't know what's going on with Rondell Moore. I think Michael Wilson is a smash hit at the wide receiver 2 position right now. But I think you need that dynamic playmaker in the middle of the offense that Malik Neighbors could absolutely bring. New York Jets at pick number 16. I think this is an easy trade down spot for the New York Jets. They are missing picks between 16 and 82, and they might even be looking for future assets as well. So I think this is going to be a clear trade down spot. There's a player on the board for a certain team that I think would be an absolute match made in heaven, so that the Minnesota Vikings are going to be calling their trusty friends, the New York Jets, for a draft day trade. So the Minnesota Vikings move up 4 spots because of the 2 teams that were in front of them, and they take Jerzon Newton. I think the Minnesota Vikings are in desperate need of a 3-tech defensive tackle, and Jerzon Newton, in my opinion, is the best defensive player in the entire draft class. This would be a perfect match for me. I don't know what's going on with the quarterback situation. Josh Dobbs is awesome. Kirk Cousins, apparently Justin Jefferson wants Kirk Cousins back as his quarterback. I also think 16 might be in, or 20 rather, before the trade up, is in that really awkward spot where it will cost an insane amount to move up to the top 5. And, if you stay at 20 and you draft a quarterback, what are you really going to get? So I think they stay where they are or move up 4 spots, and they get the best defensive player left on the board, and that's Jerzon Newton. This is pretty straightforward. The LA Chargers, Brock Bowers is still on the board. I'm going to take him. You might think I'm crazy for having Brock Bowers drop to number 17, but even though Brock Bowers seems like a generational type player, tight end is not the position that it once was. I mean, Kyle Pitts being drafted at number 4 overall, TJ Hawkinson drafted at number 10, I think it was. Those are anomalies. I don't go by past prospects. I think in this year's class, there's too many other talented positions to warrant drafting a tight end unless you absolutely need one. And I think the Chargers definitely need a tight end playmaker. The Buffalo Bills at pick number 18. This is going to be pretty simple for me. It's going to be Rome Odunze. I think Gabe Davis is going to be paid wide receiver 1 money in free agency. I don't think the Bills are going to consider bringing him back as long as they are paying Stephon Diggs. And I think that opens up a massive hole at the wide receiver position. You want to keep running the same offense that you're running. I think you have to bring in someone that's sort of kind of like Gabe Davis or even better. And at 6'3", 215 pounds with his downfield abilities, Romo Dunze could do that and maybe even more for the Buffalo Bills. Pick number 19, you have the New Orleans Saints. Going with my guy here. This is before I pick Cooper DeJean, because obviously this is what I'm getting at right here. Look at the players that are on the board. This is super tough. Laiatu Latu, Chop Robinson, JT Tuimalau. I mean, it's super tough. There's great corners left as well. DeJean is listed as a corner here, but he's going to be a safety at the next level. Also has slot cornerback starting ability. He can return punts as well. He's a super dynamic playmaker that we see the Saints like. They like guys that they can move all around the offense or defense. Look at Taysom Hill, for instance. I think DeJean could be, in a weird way, their Taysom Hill on the defensive side. And then you have my New York Jets at pick number 20. This is going to be Graham Barton for me. I was not as high on Graham Barton a couple weeks ago as I am now. I think he's a great prospect. From watching more game film from him, I realize how versatile he is on the offensive line and how strong and athletic he is for his size as well. And that's a big thing for the New York Jets. They draft with a lot of relative athletic score in mind. So, Graham Barton seems like that type of guy that's going to probably have a high RAS score, not Riz, RAS. He's going to have a high RAS score, and I think that this would be exactly what the Jets need, because the Jets honestly need something, because their offense looks like 5 turnstiles out there right now. Dallas Cowboys at pick number 21, CB2 in mind. I could go offensive line here. I'm going to hold off until the second round for that. I'm going to go with Kalen King, a player that probably shouldn't be here this late. It's an absolute steal. Trayvon Diggs comes back healthy next year. They keep Stephon Gilmore around, and you add Kalen King. Don't forget about Deron Bland as well. He's been sensational so far this year. 3 pick sixes, which is unbelievable. And I have the Pittsburgh Steelers here at number 22, and I'm not going to lie, I think that this is a spot where someone comes calling, because the Pittsburgh Steelers they have needs. They don't have glaring, massive needs that can be solved by anyone that's on this board right now, in my opinion. I don't think it warrants, with a team calling for a trade up where they could acquire future assets or even more assets in this draft. I don't think it makes sense for the Steelers to pick right here. I'm going to move back, and the Jacksonville Jaguars make a phone call to move up to 22. Now, the Jacksonville Jaguars are in possession of the number 22 overall pick, and this is going to be Laiatu Latu. This is exactly what the Jacksonville Jaguars are looking for in terms of a player across from Josh Allen. This would be one of the most formidable tandems in the NFL from day one. I would be super, super excited to watch any Jacksonville game if these two guys were lining up on either side of the formation. I think this trade up makes a lot of sense. They don't let him get to Houston. They don't let him get to Seattle or San Francisco for that matter. They move up and they get the guy that they want. Houston at number 23. I'm going with a little bit of an outside the box pick here. I'm going defensive tackle. I'm going with T'Vondre Sweat. I think T'Vondre Sweat, statistically, first off, is the best defender in the entire FBS. So let that sink in there real quick. Sheldon Rankins is actually having a superb season in terms of pass rushing from a defensive tackle. He is 4th in the NFL as of right now in pass rush win rate. I think it was like 16 or 17% from the defensive tackle position. Super great season. Malik Collins is cool too. They just signed him to an extension. But T'Vondre Sweat brings that athleticism, that power, that run-stopping ability that I just don't think that they have on this defensive line. And with D'Amico Ryans as their new head coach, I think that Sweat would make a lot of sense as a moldable piece for him to put next to someone like Will Anderson for the future. Number 24, you have the Cincinnati Bengals. Pretty easy here, straightforward. Emeka Egbuka is going to be the pick. I think similar to Gabe Davis, I think T. Higgins is going to be getting wide receiver 1 money. He's one of, if not the best wide receiver 2s in the entire NFL. So someone's going to throw probably $20+ million at him per year that I don't think the Bengals will be willing to pay. But Egbuka can bring that production and maybe even more. Who knows? For the Cincinnati Bengals. So it's a pretty even swap in my opinion. The Seattle Seahawks at pick number 25, they desperately need some interior offensive line help. It is abundantly clear in every single game that they play. Abraham Lucas and Charles Cross, when they're both healthy, are super good tackles, but the interior is just not good enough as of right now. And I'm going with Troy Fautanu here out of Washington. Don't let the offensive tackle mark here fool you. at the next level. He is going to be a guard. He's going to be a center. He's going to be some sort of interior offensive lineman. His footwork, his technique, his power for his size is absolutely tremendous. And he's one of, I call them draft darlings now. He's one of my draft darlings. Every time I watch him on film, he's just incredibly impressive. And I think this really, really warrants a pick from Seattle. You need to protect Geno Smith. You need to protect whoever's going to be throwing the football next year. San Francisco at 26. Now look, when I make this pick, I don't think anyone's going to like it, and I'm fully prepared for that. But with Bo Nix still on the board, I don't think that there is a more perfect prospect for an offensive system than Bo Nix in San Francisco. Bo Nix comes with an incredible amount of experience through college. He statistically has the most starts in college football history for a quarterback. He comes with a lot of experience, a lot of adversity faced already. And I mean, let's be real. No disrespect to Brock Purdy. This is the second stray that he's taken in this video. Brock Purdy is not as talented as Bo Nix. Can you imagine what someone like Bo Nix, who seems like that, he seems like more than a game manager, let's say that, but that's all you're really asked to do in the Shanahan system. I think Bo Nix could take them to the promised land. Something the San Francisco 49ers have been one of the most talented teams in the NFL for the past 5+ years, and they just can't get the job done. I feel like if you add someone like Bo Nix to the Shanahan system, I think this takes them over the top. I really think that he would be the perfect quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. So I'm going to take him here if he's still on the board. Then you have the Miami Dolphins at pick number 27. For what they're trying to do with the offensive line, I think Patrick Paul makes just too much sense at this point. Patrick Paul, probably besides for Ola Fashanu, is the best pass protector in the entire draft. He has over a 93 PFF grade pass blocking this season. He had a 92 last year. He's an insane pass blocker, great size, athletic combination. He's 6'7", comes with great athleticism as well. His run blocking could use a little bit of work, but for what Miami likes to do in terms of the pass game, I think he just fits perfectly on the left or the right of the offensive line. You have the Pittsburgh Steelers at pick number 28. So it's funny, they trade down from 22 to 28, and they still get the guy that they probably should have taken at 22, and that's going to be Nate Wiggins. I think JPJ is going to be a phenomenal player. Pro Bowl, all-pro type of player. I think you still need to add young, talented players to that secondary, and that's exactly what Nate Wiggins can bring. He brings a really, really nice boundary cornerback, long, rangy. I know the Pittsburgh Steelers love those guys because they just drafted JPJ. So Nate Wiggins kind of fits that profile as well, and I think that would be just an excellent pick at number 28. The Detroit Lions. What was the last time the Detroit Lions picked at number 29? That wasn't a trade. Anyway, you have the Detroit Lions at number 29. There's no outstanding needs here. I don't see a trade down coming as well. We could go with one of these stud cornerbacks here, Lassiter or Denzel Burke. Even Terrion Arnold could find his way into the first round at this point. I'm going to go with a different position in the secondary, though, and I'm going to take Cameron Kinchens. Kinchens is just someone that I think maybe if it's not a glaring need for the Detroit Lions, which they do need a safety. They definitely need to upgrade that position as well. Kinchens is someone that could just be a chess piece on the defense. He could play Buffalo nickel. He could play linebacker in sub packages as well. He's got the size, 6'2", 205 pounds of just pure athletic freakness. He is sensational. I just did a player profile on him, by the way, last week. And if you want to hear more about how much I just gushed over Cameron Kinchens as a prospect, I would go check that out. It is not far down. It's maybe the third or fourth video on this channel as of right now. Baltimore at pick number 30. Going to go outside the box here. A lot of great wide receivers still left on the board. Xavier Leggett is someone I like here a lot. I like what A.D. Mitchell brings to the table here for the Baltimore Ravens. The reason why, Rashad Bateman is going to enter his final year of his disappointing rookie contract. Odell Beckham is going to be a free agent. That already leaves a lot of that you're missing a lot of depth right away. Now you're just really left with Zay Flowers and a bunch of guys that shouldn't be wide receiver ones. So I know doubling down on wide receiver in back-to-back years in the first round is very unlikely for the Baltimore Ravens, but A.D. Mitchell comes with the size and the athletic profile that Baltimore is looking for in a boundary wide receiver. 6'4", 210 pounds, super shifty, super speedy for his size as well. I think this would be an excellent downfield option for Lamar Jackson as Zay Flowers kind of dances around the middle of the field as a amazing slot. Then I just mentioned Xavier Leggett. Now I'm going to say it again. KC at pick number 31. If Xavier Leggett is there, they run this pick up to the podium. 6'3", 227 pounds. I just read an insane stat before I started recording that Xavier Leggett leads all of FBS with 13 receptions of over 30 yards. I've never even heard of a stat like that. That is something absolutely ridiculous outside of the box that I would have never even have heard of. But 13 catches of 30 yards in the SEC on South Carolina is outrageous. He has an insane range in terms of his catch radius. He's got stickum attached to his hands. He catches everything that you throw to him. This would just be easily, besides for Travis Kelce, this would be Patrick Mahomes' #1 target right away from day one. And then rounding out the first round, you have the Philadelphia Eagles. The way that the Eagles are going to look at this is a replenish kind of way. I don't like any of the corners here, to be quite honest with you. They have a lot of young corners on their roster already that I'm super excited about that could step into starting roles next year. Linebacker, kind of the same thing. Don't really think 32 warrants a pick for a linebacker. It's kind of a weak linebacker class. Offensive tackle, I don't think we're there yet, even though there's some really good options. Same thing with the interior of the offensive line. I could be looking at Donovan Jackson, Cedric Van Pran, but I'm going to go with edge here. I think this is the year that we really need to replenish the defensive line from the edge rushing position. It's masked by the fact that Hassan Reddick is actually an outside linebacker, but he just lines up on the line anyway. You got Brandon Graham, you have Josh Sweat, guys like that. Brandon Graham is in his mid-30s, probably not going to be playing too much longer. It's time that you get a replacement for him, and that's JT Tuimoloau for me. This was a guy that was up and down on my board throughout the year, but Tuimoloau the last few weeks has really showed his dominant side while getting double-teamed most of the time. I think this would be a perfect 4-3 edge rusher for the Philadelphia Eagles. He's 6'4", 270 pounds, brings an insane amount of power, and he brings game-wrecking ability. Look at what he did to Penn State last year in 2022, and tell me that he doesn't bring game-wrecking ability. All right, here we go with the results of round 2. I'm not going to sit here and bore you guys to complete tears with my voice for 32 more picks, so we're going to do it like this. Kamari Lassiter is the first pick of the second round. I think this would be an excellent addition to the Arizona Cardinals' pretty weak secondary. He starts right away as easy CB2. Jalen Polk is a wide receiver that it really has made his way up the draft boards. I thought it was going to be Rome Odunze and Jalen McMillan. This year, it is Rome Odunze and Jalen Polk. He's really solidified himself as an excellent draft prospect, and that's what Carolina needs. I mean, if you look at the most receiving touchdowns for the Carolina Panthers, you have Adam Thielen at number 1 with 3, and then you have Kenny Moore, the cornerback of the Indianapolis Colts, with 2 for Bryce Young. So you need to get him more help, long-term help. I mean, Adam Thielen's having a really good season, but he's not a long-term answer at the wide receiver position. At number 35, you have the New York Giants' Troy Franklin, someone that I'm super high on. Could easily be a first-round pick. It's just that this draft class is just super loaded. 6'3", 190 pounds, just an incredible athlete. I think this would automatically be Caleb Williams' #1 primary target down the field, over the middle. He does it all. Kingsley Suamatia is there to protect Drake May at pick number. He is a super athletic freak from the offensive tackle position. That's exactly what the Patriots need. They need some help in terms of the offensive line. Anywhere on the offensive line will do. At number 37, this is what I was talking about before with the Washington Commanders. These 2 back-to-back picks affords me to take the best tackle or the best offensive line prospect, I think, for them, and that's Cooper Beebe. This is someone that has an incredible amount of starting experience at guard, at tackle. 6'4", 335 pounds, has the great size and athletic ability to play either position for the Washington Commanders, and they desperately need upgrades on the offensive line. Denzel Burke, I tell you what, the LA Chargers win the first 2 rounds for me as of right now. They get Dallas Turner, and then you get Denzel Burke, someone who has completely shut down one side of the field for the Ohio State Buckeyes this season. He definitely merits first-round consideration. I'm just not super in love with this cornerback class, but I think that he is an excellent pick here in the second round. Chop Robinson is the pick here for me at number 39 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, Chop is another guy that could probably get first-round recognition. I don't necessarily buy into him just yet as a first round talent with his size. 6'3", 250 pounds as an outside linebacker doesn't really give me too much confidence, but he has the explosiveness and he has the strength to play the position. So I think this warrants a second round consideration from Chop Robinson. Also a big need for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as Shaq Barrett's getting up there in age as well. Anthony Nelson isn't really doing what he's supposed to be doing on the other side either. Braylon Trice for the New Orleans Saints kind of solves that edge rushing problem. That would be super nice. You have Brian Bresee on the interior, and then you have Braylon Trice on one side as well. I mean, that's a really nice 1-2 punch. Young on the interior and on the outside. I like that a lot. Xavier Worthy is the pick for me at number 41. You've got the offensive tackle. Besides for DeAndre Hopkins, I mean, Treylon Burks is very, very talented. He just hasn't connected in Tennessee yet. Hopefully a change of quarterback, change of offensive scheme maybe could unlock his crazy talent, but I still think they need a third option because DeAndre Hopkins is getting up there in age. Then you're relying on Treylon Burks, and then after Treylon Burks, there's really nothing left, especially if they double DeAndre Hopkins. So you need to get more weapons in there for Will Levis. At number 42, the Green Bay Packers land Leonard Taylor. I think this is a really, really nice pick for the Green Bay Packers. They need some serious upgrades on the interior of that defensive line, and Taylor brings that nose guard ability with pass rushing upside, which is something you don't usually see from a nose guard as well. Jeremiah Trotter kind of solidifies that Washington linebacking core just a little bit more. Jamin Davis has come around as of late, playing a lot better, but he's still too inconsistent for me to like to just leave him there and not get someone else that's super talented from the linebacker position in the draft. Tyler Guyton is another guy that has been flying up draft boards. This is a big need for the Indianapolis Colts. They cannot do to Anthony Richardson what they did to Andrew Luck. They need to learn from their past mistakes. If you need upgrades on the offensive line, you need to go and you need to get them. And Guyton is someone who has incredible athleticism for his size. His technique, his footwork needs a little bit of refinement, but I'm banking off of the sheer athleticism and the sheer power that he brings from the offensive tackle position for him to be a really, really good player down the line. Chris Jenkins at number 45 to the Las Vegas Raiders. Pretty simple here. They just need a big body that's able to stop the run, and that's exactly what Chris Jenkins can do. I mean, that would be a really nice pairing with Tyree Wilson and Max Crosby. Max Crosby, in my opinion, is the defensive player of the year so far this year. If you add another big body that will eat up blocks, you open up more one-on-one opportunities on one side for Max Crosby. That spells bad news for any offensive line or quarterback. Princely Uman-Milan is the next pick for me here at number 46 for the Atlanta Falcons. He's listed as a defensive lineman. I think in Atlanta's defensive system, these bigger guys at 6'4", 275 pounds will play outside linebacker. That is a really nice, meaty size for the defensive coordinator of Atlanta. He likes those bigger outside linebackers that could rush the passer, and that's exactly what Uman-Milan can be. This might even be too low for him come draft time. He might be right at the top of the second round or even at the end of the first round by the time the draft rolls around. Tyler Nubin, the Green Bay Packers are killing this mock draft. Tyler Nubin is the pick here for me. A massive upgrade is needed for the Green Bay Packers from the safety position. Nubin is someone that could come down and play in the box as well. Tremendous size, power, and ball hawking ability. 6'2", 210 pounds, huge body. I think this would be an excellent upgrade for the Green Bay Packers. Tyleik Williams at number 48 for the Los Angeles Chargers. Another big upgrade in a position of need. Don't let the Jet game fool you on Monday night. The Los Angeles Chargers don't have the greatest defensive line of all time. It would just make you think that because, I mean, the way that they run it real quick is really awesome on those pass rushing downs. You have Khalil Mack on one side, you have Joey Bosa on the other side, and then you have Tui Pelotu coming in as like that rush defensive tackle. You're essentially just throwing three super fast, super strong defensive ends at a quarterback, and it spelled absolute disaster for Zach Wilson and the Jets' turnstile offensive line on Monday night. But I mean, this would be another great addition to that defensive line and that pass rush and that run stuffing ability. Brian Thomas at number 49 to the Houston Texans. Now, the way that CJ Stroud is throwing, you might say that's kind of crazy. They don't really need a wide receiver. And you might be right. But think about Brian Thomas with his 6'4", 200-pound frame on one side, Nico Collins on the other. Then you have Tank Dell in the middle with John Mechie to spare as well. I mean, right away, not only do you have one of the best wide receiving cores in all of the NFL, but you also have a super young core to build around. With CJ Stroud, you're building a superpower in Houston, to be honest with you. Kalen Bullock is the pick at number 50 for me for the Buffalo Bills. Pretty straightforward. I could go with a defensive lineman here, Landon Jackson later on the board, but I mean, I'm not super in love with the guys that are on the board that kind of fit in that 4-3 for the Buffalo Bills. I'm not super thrilled about it, so I'm going to go with the next best option. That's going to be the safety position. Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde are getting up there in age as well. It's time to bring some youth back into that secondary. Jaden Daniels is the quarterback selection for me at 51 for the Minnesota Vikings. I just couldn't get him out of purple and gold. I just thought it was too simple. No, that's not really the reason why, but imagine Jaden Daniels with his athletic ability coming into an offense that already boasts Justin Jefferson, KJ Osborne, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson. I mean, really any of these quarterbacks could just kind of come in and succeed right away with all those weapons. But Daniels' athletic ability is something that Minnesota Vikings haven't had in the Justin Jefferson era. They also have a top 5 offensive line in football. Cry about it. They really do have a top 5 offensive line. Besides for Ed Ingram, everyone else is graded in the top 5 of their position. Brian O'Neill is the best tackle in football as of right now statistically. They have a crazy offensive line. I think that if they don't bring back Kirk Cousins, this is a perfect replacement for him in the second round. Eric Carter is the pick for me here. They need the Philadelphia Eagles at 52 need an upgrade at the linebacker position. We already know that Howie Roseman is probably not going to draft a linebacker in the first round. And I'm pretty sure the Philadelphia Eagles as an organization haven't drafted a linebacker in the first round since like 1987. I think I'm pretty right when I say that, which is nuts, by the way. 53, the Steelers, I need an upgrade in the interior of that defensive line. That's what Landon Jackson brings. Someone that has come up my boards. I'm not going to lie to you. On my list that I follow as I'm doing this along, I had Mason Smith here, but I had a change of heart. Landon Jackson is someone that I've been watching quite closely the last couple weeks, and he's really been moving up my draft board. In a wide open defensive tackle class, he could make a legitimate case as a high second round pick. And the Cleveland Browns, with their only pick in this mock draft at number 54, grabbed Johnny Wilson, the 6'6", 230-pound wide receiver out of Florida State. An excellent compliment. I know that there's not a ton of speed there. When you're looking on one side, you have Amari Cooper, and then you're bringing Johnny Wilson. But, I mean, those boundary receivers are unbelievable. Amari Cooper is having another sensational year, even with the struggles at the quarterback position for the Cleveland Browns. Adding someone like Johnny Wilson with his unbelievable size would just be beautiful. Terrion Arnold at pick number 55 for the Cincinnati Bengals. A upgrade in the secondary is needed, and Terrion Arnold brings really nice size, 6 foot, 190 pounds, good speed as well. Someone that could, be a boundary corner opposite Cam Taylor-Britt, and you have a really nice young secondary combination there with, of course, Awuzie and Mike Hilton, guys like that along the way. At 56, you have the Dallas Cowboys, and I'm taking Jordan Morgan here. This is a nice pick, in my opinion, for the Dallas Cowboys because you went and you got some secondary help in the first round. You didn't panic. You trusted the fact that the board is loaded with offensive tackles, and you got a super good one here in Jordan Morgan in round 2. Tyron Smith is a legend. He's probably going to be a Hall of Famer, but his time has come. Similar to David Bakhtiari in Green Bay, he's too injury prone at this point to even, bring him back for another year. He's going to be a free agent. I think you just kind of wipe the slate clean. You start with a younger offensive line. Tyler Smith as well has been sensational since being drafted. I think you kind of keep that youth movement coming. At 57, you get another weapon for now, Bo Nix in San Francisco. Here's my thinking. If Brandon Ayuk does not come back, then what does that leave you with? It leaves you with Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, and then not really much Jawan Jennings other than that. So I think Malachi Corey comes like 2-layered. It's either they retain Brandon Ayuk, and now you have a super insane wide receiving core of Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and Malachi Corley, or you have Malachi Corley Debo Samuel, George Kittle. Either way, I think it works sensational. This guy, for his size, 5'11", 205 pounds, runs like he's 305 pounds. And I don't mean speed-wise, I mean power-wise. The guy sheds tackles like you would not believe. He is an unbelievable runner in the open field. And when challengers come, he just kind of destroys them for the most part. He's been insane this year. He was insane last year. I highly recommend taking a look at his tape or game film, whatever it may be. He's awesome to watch in the open field. Donovan Jackson is the pick for me at number 58. A massive need for the New York Giants. We're going all offense for the New York Giants here in this one. Probably the most athletic guard in the entire class, Donovan Jackson, in my opinion. The Giants just need something on the interior of the offensive line. They just need something. John Michael Schmitz, great player. Drafted him last year. He's going to turn out to be a really good one. Don't really know what's going on with Evan Neal. Andrew Thomas is a all-pro. You need to figure out those guard positions. Mark Lewinsky has been okay so far this year, but you need to figure out the interior because these poor quarterbacks are getting their asses destroyed every single week. Jatavion Sanders at pick number 59. This just seems like too perfect of a pick to pass up. I mean, the tight end position is probably the only black hole in terms of offensive weapons for the Miami Dolphins. And now you get a super athletic, big body who can block as well. He's got to put everything together. I think Jatavion Sanders, if he puts everything together in the back end of this season, I think he has a chance to be a very high second-round pick. If not, I still think that he's a day 2 guy, but he falls in the perfect situation at 59 for the Miami Dolphins. 60, you have Kalen Carson. This is really nice because you have Tyson Campbell on one side, you have Darius Williams in the slot, and you can put Kalen Carson on the other side. That's a really formidable starting 3 cornerbacks there for the Jacksonville Jaguars. 61 for the Detroit Lions, you have Zach Zinter, a player that is listed as a tackle, but probably going to be either a guard or a center at the next level, with Jonah Jackson being a free agent and kind of thin depth behind the starting 5. You don't want to lose the fact that the Detroit Lions have a top 5 offensive line. You don't want to lose that. So you need to replenish when it's necessary. And I think it's necessary here. Zinter comes with a lot of talent. DJ James at number 62. This is someone that's really, really slept on throughout the draft process, in my opinion. He's listed far too low. He's got the size, 6'1", 190. He's got the speed. He's got the pedigree in the SEC, playing, LSU, Alabama, all these great teams with great wide receivers. He's going to be excellent. TreVeyon Henderson is the only running back taken in this 2-round mock. And I think this is the perfect time for the Kansas City Chiefs to kind of pull the plug on the Isaiah Pacheco, Jerick McKinnon, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire threesome, because TreVeyon Henderson is someone that could do all 3 of those jobs. Now, I know that, Pacheco's pretty good. He also runs like he's mad at his feet. I don't know if you've ever seen him run in the open field, but he stomps around like a Clydesdale. It's kind of funny to watch. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a waste of a first-round pick. Jerick McKinnon is just a receiving back at this point. TreVeyon Henderson can do all these things and can honestly do it much better than these 3. And then the last pick in my 2-round mock, Cedric Van Pran. This is a really nice 2-layered pick because I think Van Pran comes with enough athleticism and experience to start right away if needed, if Jason Kelce retires. If Jason Kelce comes back for another season, this is exactly like the Cam Jurgens thing. You kind of let him sit. He learns from the best offensive line in football. And then when he's ready, he could plug in any interior offensive line position and start, like what they did with Landon Dickerson. Now Cam Jurgens is starting, I believe, at right guard now. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. There is my 2-round 2024 NFL mock draft. Please let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I hope you guys enjoyed today. Please leave a like. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you guys so much for watching today. Hope you enjoyed, and I hope I see you in the next one.